There's a little convenience store off the highway. The only thing open 24/7 in a town that barely has a pulse. And for most people it's nothing. Just a dusty building with flickering lights. But for one man, it became the place where something found him and followed him home. Tonight, you're going to learn why he will never drive that road after midnight again. It was 2 a.m. A straight highway, dead silent, miles of open darkness. The kind of night where the world feels abandoned. Inside his car, the narrator kept sipping from an empty cup, and the moment his tongue hit the dry plastic, he sighed. He needed a drink. Anything. Water, soda, even gas station coffee. And in the middle of nowhere, there was only one place that ever stayed open. The Quick Check. A 24/7 bottle of light in a giant ocean of black. When he walked inside, the first thing he noticed wasn't the smell of old mop water. It wasn't the buzzing refrigerator. It wasn't even the cashier dozing off behind the counter. It was the man, sitting on the floor, in front of the open refrigerator door, as still as a corpse. His legs were crossed neatly, hands resting on his knees, head tilted just slightly, like he'd been staring into that fridge for hours. He didn't blink. He didn't speak. He didn't even react to the door chime. The narrator stepped around him, trying not to make eye contact. He told himself maybe the guy was high, exhausted, broken, anything normal. But deep down, something felt wrong. The kind of wrong you can't explain. The kind that whispers don't turn your back on it. He grabbed a drink, paid the cashier who barely lifted his eyes. He turned to leave, and froze. The man was no longer on the floor. He was standing, right in the middle of the aisle, facing him, not saying a word, not breathing, not moving, just staring. The narrator's heart jumped so hard he felt dizzy. His instinct screamed, walk, don't run, don't make him chase. He slipped out the door holding his breath, and the second it clicked shut behind him, he heard it, a dragging sound, inside the store, getting closer. He got into his car fast, too fast, seatbelt forgotten. He pulled out of the parking lot and sped onto the highway, glancing into the mirror again and again. Nothing. Darkness behind him, silence ahead of him. For a moment he actually laughed. Maybe the stress had gotten to him. Maybe he'd imagined the man moving. Maybe. Headlights. Behind him. Out of nowhere. Blinding. Aggressive. A pickup truck. Coming fast. The truck shot up behind him, almost kissing his bumper. He jerked the wheel. Accelerated. But the truck stayed with him, riding inches behind him, swerving when he swerved, matching every move like a predator toying with prey. He tapped his brakes. A warning. But the truck only got closer. So close the headlights filled his entire car. And then, the truck lunged forward and hit him. Not enough to crash him. Not enough to kill him. Just enough to say, I'm not letting you go. He floored the gas pedal. 90. 100. 110. The pickup matched every mile. Every second. Every breath. There was no exit. No turn off. No lights. Just a straight, endless highway. And death behind him. He looked closely now. The driver had the same posture. Same tilt of the head. Same unblinking stare. The man from the store. He wasn't driving like a human. He wasn't reacting. He wasn't even holding the wheel the way people do. He just stared at him, through him, like he was choosing the moment to kill. The truck moved up beside him, perfectly aligned. No hesitation, no drift, no human error. Just a straight, mechanical slide into his lane, trying to push him off the highway, into the ditch, into the dark. He screamed, forced the wheel. The car spun, skidded, almost flipped, until it slammed to a shaky stop in the gravel. Dust filled the air. Silence returned. The truck? Gone. Like it had never been there. He sat there shaking, breathing hard, too afraid to move. Then, his phone buzzed. A notification. A text. From an unknown number. For words. Don't look back. His blood ran cold. He slowly lifted his eyes to the rearview mirror, and there, in the back seat, right behind his headrest, was a face. Pale. Expressionless. Unblinking. The same stare. From the store. From the highway. From the truck. Only now, it was inches away. SFX. Deep exhale behind the listener. They never found the man. They never found the truck. And they never explained the text message. But the car? Every morning since that night, the backseat is warm, as if someone is still sitting there. There are two kinds of highway stories: the ones people tell to scare you, and the ones that are so real, they leave something behind in your mind that never goes away. Next story is the second kind. It begins on a two-lane highway, just past midnight, with a woman standing beside a broken-down red hatchback. A woman who shouldn't have been there. A woman who wasn't alone. He was a delivery driver heading home after a long shift. Empty road. Dead night. A straight shot through open darkness. He'd driven the same route 100 times, and nothing ever happened out there. But that night, his headlights revealed something unusual. A small red hatchback, pulled over, hazard lights blinking, and a woman pacing beside it, arms waving for help. He slowed down, because that's what normal people do, and because she looked terrified. He pulled up next to her, rolled the window halfway. "Everything okay?" he asked. She ran to the passenger door instantly. Too fast, too desperate. She reached for the handle, and before he could react, she was already inside, breathing hard, shaking. Hands clutched together in her lap. Something inside him tightened. Something instinctive. Something that whispered, "This isn't right." He swallowed. "What happened?" She kept staring forward, refusing to look at him. Her voice was low and trembling. "Please, just drive." He drove, faster than he normally would, because there was something in her posture, something stiff, unnatural, that made his skin crawl. And then he noticed her eyes. She wasn't looking at the road, or at him. She was looking at the side mirror, behind them. He followed her gaze. Nothing. Just empty road. "Did someone try to hurt you?" he asked. Silence. A silence so thick he could hear her breathing. Finally, in a voice so small he almost missed it, she whispered, "Don't st. Op the car." He drove another mile, another two. The tension was suffocating. Then, up ahead, through the glare of his headlights, he saw them. Two men, standing on the shoulder of the road, beside the same red hatchback he had passed before. The same car, the same hazard lights, the same spot. He pressed the brakes, confused. Oh, he had just picked up the woman from that exact place. But before he could finish the thought, her hand shot out, grabbing his arm, fingers digging in hard. "Go." He stepped on the gas. The two men stepped forward. One of them reached out toward the car, as if trying to grab the door handle. But the car shot past them, and his blood turned cold when he saw their faces. No anger, no surprise, just wide, expectant grins, like they were waiting for him. His hands shook on the wheel. He finally asked her, "What is happening?" Who were they? Her breathing grew louder, sharper, almost excited. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "Sorry? For what?" Her right hand moved slowly, too slowly, sliding beneath her jacket. He saw the motion in the corner of his eye, and his instinct screamed again. He slammed the brakes. The car lurched. The woman flew forward, slamming into the dashboard. He didn't even look at her. He jumped out of the car, hand reaching behind the seat, where he kept the gun for long night drives. He swung the back door open, and froze. There was something sitting on the seat, something he knew he hadn't put there. A small black object, wrapped in tape, wedged into the crevice of the upholstery. He reached in. A burner phone battery. Fresh, brand new, the kind criminals use to track a car from a distance. And next to it, zip ties. He stared at them, at the neat bundle, at the placement. The realization hit him like a punch. The woman didn't need help. She was setting a trap. He backed away from the car, gun in hand, heart hammering. But by the time he turned, she was gone, disappeared into the dark, like she'd been lifted out of existence. No footprints on the gravel, no sound of running, nothing, just silence. Until, off in the distance, far down the road, he saw the red hatchback again, rolling slowly, hazards blinking, pacing toward him like a predator. Someone else was inside, watching him, waiting for him to get closer. He didn't wait to see who. He ran, got in his car, drove all the way to the next town, without stopping once. The next morning, he checked the back seat again. The battery and zip ties were gone. Someone had removed them. Someone had been in his car. After he fled, he reported it to the police. They investigated the area. But the officer only said one thing. Before closing his notebook, "You're lucky," he said. "They've been doing this for months, and nobody else ever got away." To this day, he doesn't stop for anyone on the highway, not even in broad daylight, because he knows the truth. The woman wasn't running from danger. She was the danger. And the red hatchback is still out there, waiting for its next target. Someone who thinks they're being a good person. Someone who slows down. Someone who opens the door and never gets the chance to close it again. Most people think the scariest things happen deep in the woods, or in abandoned houses, or places where ghosts belong. But sometimes, the most terrifying thing you'll ever meet is standing under flickering lights in a gas station bathroom, right off a lonely Kansas highway. And sometimes, it's not a ghost, it's something worse. She was driving cross-country. Kansas was the long, flat middle of her trip, a stretch of land where the sky feels too big, and the world feels too empty. It was late. Too late. And her bladder wasn't giving her a choice. She spotted a gas station ahead. One single building surrounded by nothing. A cheap neon sign flickered like it was struggling to stay alive. But she pulled in anyway, because when you're alone, you take what you can get. Inside, the air smelled like old coffee, dust, and something faintly metallic. One cashier stood behind the counter, a man who didn't bother looking up. As she walked past him, she headed straight to the restroom. And when she pushed the door open, that was the first red flag. The room was freezing, much colder than the rest of the building, as if the air was being sucked out by something she couldn't see. The second red flag? She wasn't alone. Standing near the sinks was an older woman, gray hair wild and tangled, clothes mismatched, back hunched slightly, like she'd been waiting there for a long, long time. And she was staring, not at the mirror, not at the door, at her. The humming stopped the moment their eyes met. Most people smile politely, or look away, or at least blink. But this woman did none of that. She just stared, with wide, glassy eyes that felt too focused for someone who looked so unwell. Something inside the traveler whispered, "Do not turn your back on her." But nature didn't leave her options. She went into the stall and locked the door. For a few seconds, silence, then a sound, not footsteps, not breathing, a soft, slow scrape, dragging across the bathroom floor, like someone was sliding their feet, closer and closer, toward her stall. She held her breath. Her heartbeat thundered in her ears. The scraping stopped, directly outside her door. Then, tap, 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 3 slow knocks, too soft to be normal. Too gentle, like someone testing the wood, to see if it would break easily. The older woman's voice came through the gap below the door, high-pitched, shaky, almost excited. Is that you?" She froze. She didn't answer, didn't move. "Is that you?" The voice repeated, louder this time. It was not the question of someone confused. It sounded like someone trying to confirm they had found the right person. The traveler whispered, "No, I think you're mistaking me for someone." Silence. Then, a slow exhale, pressed against the bottom of the stall door. She backed away from the door, far as the stall allowed. But then, she felt it. A presence, lower than the door handle. Too low. She looked down, and saw an eye, looking at her, through the tiny gap, under the stall. Not blinking, not moving, just watching. The eye didn't look human anymore. It looked hungry. She stood up instinctively, and grabbed her bag, ready to run, the second she unlocked the door. But the woman spoke again, this time in a whisper, so soft, the traveler almost missed it. "You're not supposed to be here." She didn't wait for more. She threw the stall door open, and sprinted out. The older woman was still crouched on the floor, lower than any normal person should be, hands pressed flat, spine twisted at an unnatural angle. As she stared up at her, with a smile that didn't belong on a human face, the traveler ran, didn't wash her hands, didn't look back. She blasted through the hallway, and rushed toward the gas station counter, toward the only other person in the building. The cashier looked up finally, his face pale. "You saw her, didn't you?" he said quietly. She nodded, out of breath. "Who is that woman?" The cashier swallowed hard. "She comes in every night," he said. "Always the same time. Always goes to the bathroom. Never buys anything. Never leaves through the door. The traveler stared at him. What does that mean? He shook his head. You need to go. Right now. Before she comes out. The seriousness in his voice killed any doubt she had left. She ran to her car, locked the doors, drove off, with shaking hands, and eyes glued to the mirrors. She didn't see the woman. Not in the parking lot. Not on the highway. Not anywhere. But when she looked in the rearview mirror, one last time, the bathroom lights inside the gas station had turned off, all at once. She never stopped in Kansas again. Never stopped anywhere at night, unless the place was full of people, because she still thinks about that woman, about her voice, about the eye under the stall, about the words the cashier said. She never leaves through the door. So if you ever find yourself in a lonely gas station, off a Kansas highway, and the lights flicker, and the air gets cold, don't ignore it. Some things aren't meant to be seen. Not in the mirror. Not under the door. Not anywhere. Humans are supposed to be. It's strange how roads can feel endless. How the more you drive, the less the world seems to make sense. As if the road isn't just guiding you forward, but pulling you towards something far darker. She thought she had escaped. She thought the gas station was the last thing she'd ever see that night. But that's the thing about roads. Once you're on them, there's no turning back. And sometimes, the road knows things about you that you wish you didn't know. She drove, keeping her eyes on the asphalt, hands gripping the wheel a little too tightly. The air felt thick, almost as if the night itself was pressing in on her. Her heart was racing, her mind still playing back those last images, the flickering lights, the woman with the cold, dead eyes. She glanced in the rearview mirror. The highway was empty, nothing behind her. But then she saw it, something moving, far in the distance. A red light, glowing, flickering. It wasn't another car, not headlights, not taillights. It was something else, something strange. The light grew closer, too close. She pressed harder on the gas, but the light kept pace with her, unnaturally so. She glanced at the gas gauge, full tank, still miles from the next town. But the light? It followed her. A chill crept up her spine. She turned the wheel hard, glancing over her shoulder, and there it was again, that scraping sound, like tires dragging on asphalt. But there was no car, no truck, nothing that should have made that sound. She was alone, or so she thought. Then, there was a knock, a soft tap at the back window. The knocking grew louder, closer. The red light seemed to blur in her mirrors. Her mind raced. Had someone pulled up behind her? Had they been following her the whole time? She reached for her phone, but it wasn't in the seat beside her. It was on the floor under the pedals. Fumbling, she leaned down to grab it. But then, another knock, louder this time, sharper. Her breath caught in her throat. She didn't want to look. She couldn't look, but she did anyway. A red hatchback, flickering lights, sliding in and out of focus. The headlights were too bright, too harsh. She slammed the brakes. The car in front of her screeched to a halt, right in the middle of the highway. Her hands were shaking now. She reached for the door handle, but before she could open it, the hatchback's driver's side door flung open. A man stepped out, tall, pale, dressed in a suit that looked too clean for someone who should have been out here, on a road like this, at this hour. He didn't look at her. He didn't speak. He just stood there, staring, through her windshield. Her heart beat faster. She couldn't breathe. Then his lips parted. His voice, too smooth, too calm. "It's not safe here, is it?" She froze. His eyes, they weren't normal. Too dark. Too empty. A void. A pull. A deep, dark abyss, staring right through her. No soul behind them. Nothing but emptiness. "You're not supposed to be here," he said again, his voice growing colder. "Stranger. None of us are." Her pulse raced. Her fingers grasped the wheel. She couldn't move, couldn't speak, couldn't blink. The sound of tires scraping the road, faint yet growing louder, closer. Then, in one swift motion, the man turned his back and walked toward the red hatchback. The car door slammed shut, and the engine roared to life. The hatchback shot forward, speeding away as quickly as it had arrived. But she couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong, something that wasn't over. She looked back in her rearview mirror, but the highway behind her was empty. She saw it again, the red light, only it wasn't behind her anymore. It was in front of her, In the distance, she slammed the brakes. It was too late. The red light seemed to split the air. A blur of speed, a flash of headlights, a streak of red, too fast for her eyes to follow. The world around her spun. The road didn't look the same. It twisted. It bent. The exit signs that should have been there were gone. The street lights, the trees, all blurred into a dark mass. There was no escape. Not this time. And she wasn't sure she'd ever see the end of the highway again. The red light blinked once more, but this time, it didn't flicker. It didn't disappear. It stayed, constant, staring right back at her. It was too close, and as she gripped the wheel and tried to control the panic rising in her chest, she realized she was already lost. Maybe you've seen it before. Maybe you felt it. The fear of being followed, of driving without knowing where you're going, without knowing what waits for you at the end. But one thing's for sure. Once the road takes you in, there's no turning back. If you ever find yourself on a highway at night, driving with no place to go, don't look back. And whatever you do, never trust the red lights.